I am one of the 300,000 Black women who have lost their job in 2025, and I have some thoughts. It is no secret that being a Black woman in America is ghetto, period, point blank. But being a Black woman in the workforce, the masking that you have to do, the microaggressions that you have to fight, the code switching that goes on, all of the things, the hoops and the mental gymnastics that you have to go through in office, navigating social interactions with your coworkers is exhausting. If I was in office and had braids in my hair, my white male supervisor would loudly make a comment in front of anybody else who was in the office saying, "Oh, you switched up your hair. I almost didn't recognize you." Of course, this in turn makes people turn around, making you feel ostracized, making you feel put on the spot for literally the hair that grows out of your head and wanting to do a different style. Meanwhile, he's over there with 4 pieces of hair and a hairline that search and rescue is looking for, but I'm the one that's being put on display. Right.
There has been a trend of Black women losing their jobs. It started at 300,000, now it's up to 600,000. I don't know what's going on. I would love to know, I'd love to see the comparisons. Like, are just a bunch of people losing their jobs and, because it's the Black community, they focus on the Black community? Or are Black women disproportionately losing their jobs? Because it's kind of scary, I'll be real.
So I got fired in Atlanta 2 months ago, and after 8 weeks of reflecting, I don't believe it was about my performance. The same qualities that got me promoted in California made me a problem here. Because in my experience, men do not know how to handle Black women in leadership.
So I got laid off. I'm a 24-year-old CPA who was laid off from her very first big girl job. It's been 2 weeks. This is the 3rd week. The first week I was in disbelief, so I took a vacation. The second week I experienced all 7 stages of grief. And now we're in the 3rd week. It's Monday and it's time to get back in the game. I debated coming on the internet with this because it kind of feels a little bit embarrassing. But then I realized it's not. It's life. I'm 24. Something like this was bound to happen, as in a bump in the road was bound to happen. And now we pivot. And why not showcase this on social media where everything is so perfect and everything is so seamless? Why not show my little bump in the road? Because showing my imperfect life gives awareness to other people who are in my age range, who are going to go through bumps, who are going to go through things that are outside of their plans. Why not show this to give awareness that that is life? This is a great opportunity to also show how good my God is. And this is a perfect opportunity to pivot into something that I actually like. I like being a CPA, just not in the public accounting space. So why not pivot into doing something that I actually like? So come join me on this.
Unemployment for Black women is above 6%, and if this was happening to any other demographic in the United States of America, we would be talking about it constantly. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Since February of this year, unemployment rates for Black women have increased month over month by at least 0.5 to 1%, which is huge. It is estimated by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that between February and March, when the bulk of federal layoffs happened in the first round, Black women lost 250,000 plus jobs. That's huge. I think it needs to be explicitly said that it's not an accident that the president's administration has been targeting DEI as well as the federal workforce, because Black women are overrepresented in those job categories and in that workforce. And the targeting of those 2 sectors was a deliberate choice that was made in order to increase unemployment amongst Black people, and specifically Black women.
That's another reason why I think so many Black women have lost their jobs, is because Black women, to be likable means to be a people pleaser, and it means to serve other people's emotions and feelings over your own in a way. And especially in a corporate world or in a job setting, being likable means that you're willing to kiss ass pretty much. Now, if you're likable based off of who you actually are, that's the best type of likability. Like, I I want to be liked for being me, right? I don't want to be liked because I'm people pleasing or I'm doing what people want me to do or I'm performing, right? And I think the reason why a lot of black women lose their jobs, not because they're not good at their jobs, they're actually the best, but they refuse to perform to be liked. And because they refuse to perform to be liked, that makes higher ups, that makes other people in the company feel uncomfortable. And so even though this woman is doing her job very well and she's meeting the quotas, she's not performing to be liked by me. So therefore she has to go.
So I just done a quick Google search, right, to see if black women are disproportionately losing their jobs compared to everyone else. And they are, right? In 2025, the unemployment rate for black women fell 1.4% to 55.7%. The Economic Policy Institution found that this was one of the sharpest annual declines for black women in roughly 25 years.
Would I be wrong to say that this country is committed to doing everything in its power to prevent black women from generating wealth? In just 3 months, nearly 300,000 black women left the U.S. labor force, and more than 518,000 black women still haven't returned to the labor force since the pandemic began, leaving our real unemployment rate just above 10%. The article lists many causes, and I'm not going to go into details for all of them, but obviously the federal cuts. It also talks about the impact of the Big Beautiful Bill and student loans, and it talks about all of the DEI cuts. For decades, the public sector has served as a lifeline for black women shut out of opportunity elsewhere in the economy. Black women make up over 12% of the federal workforce, almost double our share of the labor force overall. The roles not only offer pensions and benefits, but more equitable pay compared to the private sector. DEI job postings dropped by 43% between August 2022 and July 2024, as well as companies scaling back their mentorship programs, their inclusive hiring, and deprioritizing equity benchmarks. I really want to emphasize the importance of retention because we always focus on hiring, but oftentimes these companies hire black women and truly leave us for dead and do not give us the resources to be able to successfully navigate and successfully climb up the ladder within these companies. Even when black women are able to break into these spaces, to break into these companies, the pipeline to highly compensated executive roles sheds us at every single step. This is black women right here. Black women are among the most vulnerable to automation, with 21% working in jobs highly exposed to AI-driven distribution. Yet we hold just 3% of computing-related jobs. This is not just a mismatch. It's a structural exclusion from both the current economy and the next one. Black women tend to work in supportive roles, and you can see from this diagram that supportive roles have the highest risk of automation and also the lowest future job growth. And all of this is coming at a time where companies are eager to cut their workforces. There's a new mindset on how best to run a company. Companies are focusing on commanding millions of dollars in revenue with only a handful of employees. Many executives see large workforces as an impediment and not an asset. We're seeing this throughout industries. Companies are functioning with historically low number of employees. More than 51% of black households with children are led by breadwinner mothers, many of whom are the sole source of income in their homes. When these women are pushed out of the workforce, entire families lose their economic foothold, threatening housing stability, consumer spending, and educational outcomes for children. These are not isolated setbacks, they are systemic losses.
Now, this is one of the sharpest declines in 25 years. The decline amongst black men and white women was no more than 0.5% points each. Whilst the Hispanic, it raised plus 6%. Black women's employment to population ratio was well below the most recent peak, reflecting employment losses that started in 2024 and accelerated into 2025. Black women with bachelor's degrees face the greatest employment loss. That's crazy. Large employment losses and labor force departures among college graduates were a direct consequence of the Trump administration implementing massive federal layoffs and buyouts over the last year. A sector where nearly half of the black workers have bachelor's or higher. Now, this is saying, they are putting the blame on Trump here. While black women saw a net increase in private sector employment in 2025, primarily in the growing education and health service industry, there were net losses in 6 of the 12 private sector industries. Among the net losses, 33% occurred in other services, followed by 25% in manufacturing, 21% in finances, and 15% in professional and business services. So from what I'm understanding, they've targeted certain industries where there are a lot of black women, and they've been laid off or bought out, which is leading to this large discrepancy in unemployment. And a lot of people are saying Trump did this on purpose, which, could you blame them? Really?
4 black women, 9 degrees, and not one steady paycheck. This week, the Washington Post published this article on the black unemployment rate, specifically for college-educated black women. And as a black woman with multiple degrees who just recently got laid off, I unfortunately am overqualified to talk about it. So in this article, particularly, the Washington Post spoke to 4 black women who worked in the federal government. And one of them, for example, literally has 2 master's degrees, years of experience in middle management, and has been unemployed since last July. The article even goes on to say how there has never been a larger unemployment disparity in this country ever. I also want to preface that Jeff Bezos owns this publication. Now back to me. I have my bachelor's and my master's in mass communications, and when I was hired on my team, I was in fact the only person with a degree at all. Fast forward 3 years, I was laid off. And unfortunately, I am by no way surprised. I personally have spent the last several years working in the solar energy industry, which is a highly government regulated industry that varies from state to state. And since last summer, you can look it up yourself, it's been pretty bad. So I knew then my days were numbered. At the beginning of this year, my manager had been making my life an actual living hell. I was so miserable, and I knew they were up to something nefarious because they were just moving so funny, which is why me getting laid off felt so much more painful, because as much as they want to say it's not performance-based, it's not personal, I'm like, but the way you've moved for the last 6 months makes me know that you had this lined up for a long time, and you just put me through hell for the hell of it, because there was nothing I could have done to prevent this layoff, because as you're saying, it was not performance-based. Like I said, when I joined my team at the time, I was the only person that had a bachelor's and I had a master's, along with the fact that I went through 7 rounds of interviews for an entry-level position. And I wouldn't even say I'm bitter about all this. It's more, I'm just like, I should have moved like this. Like, I feel like I shrunk myself so much to fit in this corporate environment like a lot of us do, but mine was extra special because my entire team was based out of Utah, and if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. And like I said, it wasn't just a regular layoff. Like, if it was just, I really didn't see it coming, everything was fine at work for the past year, 6 months, it would be one thing. But just to put this into perspective, my manager leading up to my layoff for a month canceled every single one of our one-on-ones. So the first time I talked to my manager in a month was the 2-minute conversation when he was telling me I no longer had a job.
I was just looking at what the big beautiful bill was, and a lot of it has to do with cutting cost, right? Cutting cost, Medicaid. They got some stuff about the border in there as well. Politicians are so smart, man. Politicians will give you a little bit, right? They'll give you a little bit of truth, but they won't tell you what's going to happen on the back end, because you might not like what happens on the back end. But when they say they're going to lower taxes and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, the money kind of has to come from somewhere. We're going to cut jobs, increase the workload on the people who are already there.
While Black women are being pushed out of jobs across this country, this is the narrative being fed to employers.
The amount of special treatment that Black women get in the workplace blows my mind. They can be dumber than a box of rocks. They're given special leeway. They don't abide by the dress code. They're late all the time. And there's always an excuse. And if you're a manager and you hold them to this excuse, you're the racist because their kid or something happened in their family. And we have to stretch the rules for them. We have to overlook it. We can't say anything. Managers are afraid to approach them and confront them about the dress code, confront them about their hair, confront them about tardiness, because they'll have a video made. Somebody will say you're being racist. And so managers all over the world, owners, when you hire Black women, be prepared what comes along with that. Be prepared for your other workers to feel highly uncomfortable when they're constantly seeing somebody not abide by the rules and not a damn thing is done about it. Not a damn thing. And most businesses will stand by and will put up with mediocre performances because they want to keep their doors open and they don't want a TikTok video made about how racist they are.
Handle on that video was at Pepper's Play Zone 2, and what she said is not misunderstood, it is downright racist. She's not talking about individual behavior. She is assigning incompetence, lazy, and disruption to Black women as a group, and then warning employers about hiring them.
That's the most egregious thing about this video. She's literally sending a message to employers to not hire Black women. It's difficult to, I don't know if I should say it, but I just gotta keep it real, man. Sometimes, because I'm always learning about history and stuff, it's difficult to look at white people and not see their ancestors. And then they say certain things, I just what are you even saying, bro? Like, honestly, man, what are you actually saying?
That is textbook anti-Black bias. And here's the part people keep ignoring. Over the last year, we have seen a disproportionate number of Black women pushed out of the workforce through layoffs, terminations, and forced resignations. We are talking hundreds of thousands of Black women losing jobs while also being one of the most educated and fastest growing segments of the workforce. So when someone like her gets on TikTok and says Black women are the problem at work, that is not insight. That is a narrative that helps justify why they are being excluded in the first place. Because this is how it works. A Black woman shows up, and before she even speaks, she's already viewed as difficult, already viewed as a risk, already viewed as someone who needs to be managed differently. Meanwhile, other employees can violate policy, miss deadlines, and underperform, and it gets framed as stress, burnout, or needing support. That double standard is not accidental. It is structural. And from a legal standpoint, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission enforces Title VII, which prohibits race-based discrimination and harassment in the workforce. So when you start making broad statements about an entire racial group being problematic employees, you're stepping directly into hostile work environment territory. And let's be honest, you have to be deeply comfortable in your bias to sit down, press record, and say something like this publicly from your chest. That does not come from nowhere. That comes from entitlement and resentment that has been normalized for far too long. Black women are not the problem in the workplace. The problem is a system that undervalues us, over-polices us, and then blames us for the very barriers placed in front of us.
Would I be wrong to say that this country is committed to doing everything?
You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions about this in the comments. I found this worrying, man.
This liquor got me in my zone. Now I'm blowing up your phone. Blowing weed, smoking the ozone. I just can't let this go. This liquor got me in my zone.